guys, it's Ashley here, and I'm going to make my, how I told my parents and my baby's dad video. So yeah, don't mind my room behind me, it's like so messy. We're getting ready to move, so it's pretty intense. But yeah, anyways, so sorry, I'm like trying not to look at myself, but I'm like in my iPhone, and yeah, sorry. So, anyways, how I told my parents and my baby's dad. So, we're gonna start with my baby's dad because that's a little bit more simple to explain. Actually, okay, so we were dating. This was in, like, I got pregnant in early to mid-July, I believe. I never actually took a pregnancy test. Like, honest to God, I never took a pregnancy test. I just knew. I could just, like, feel it. I'm, like, one of those people that's very, like, in touch with my body. So, like I know what's going on, like, with my body, you know, like, easily. And so I never actually took a pregnancy test. But, I did know for sure. I was like, I just am, you know. Especially after, you know, not having a period for 3 months. So, in September, I was about 2 months, almost 3 months pregnant. It was like mid-September, and let's see what happened. So, he wouldn't talk to me for like a couple weeks or something. I don't know. I don't really remember what happened. This was like 2 years ago, but, we were like on bad terms, and like, but we were still dating, but weren't talking, like, we were kind of avoiding each other, you know? And I was like going to tell him, I was like thinking about it, I was like, I don't know, I need to tell him, you know, but I don't know how. And so I was going to go down there one day, because he goes to the skate park, or he did, I guess, went to the skate park all the time, and I had moved over that summer, so I wasn't as close to the skate park. I used to live, like, right next door to the skate park, but then I moved, and I was a little bit further away, so, he was, normally goes down there, so I was planning on going down there, you know, and, like, getting him, like, we need to talk, you know, type of thing. But then, the day before I was going to do it, sorry, my throat is, like, really dry. But the day before I was going to do it, my, one of my good friends from preschool, she had been my best friend since preschool, had messaged me on Facebook and was like, dude, when did you and Corey break up? And I was like, we didn't. We're still together. And she was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure I would know if I'm with my boyfriend or not, you know? And so she was like, well, that's not the story he's telling everybody else. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she was like, he's down at the skate park, making out with some chick, and I'm not going to mention names, but making out with some chick, and he told me that you guys had broken up like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And she goes to the same school as him, and she was like, he's all over her at school, and they walked down the halls holding hands and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, really? Really? Okay. And he had cheated on me before, so it wasn't any new news, you know? I expected it. And so she told me, she was like, I'm here for you, so she's like, because I was like, really, I want to catch something, I just don't want to say, oh, I heard it from someone. So she was like, I'm going to tell them to meet me at the skate park, and, because I have something for him, because he smokes, and so she was going to give him cigarettes, you know, and she was like, I'll tell him that I have cigarettes, and then him, like, meet me at the skate park, you know, and he'll most likely bring her. And so I was like, okay. And so the next day came around. It was a Saturday. I believe it was the 10th of September, I believe, around that time, something like that, of 2011. And so I go down to the skate park with me and my sister, and we're, like, down there, and we're, like, peeking behind this corner thing, like, back towards the field, kind of, like, I don't know how to explain it, but we're, like, peeking behind this corner, because there's neighborhoods right there. And I see him come around the corner, and he's, like, walking with his bike, and he's holding this chick's hand, and then he starts kissing her. And I was like, dude, that's her, that's her, that's her. So we, like, book it around, like, across the apartment complex and all the way around to, like, where he was, you know, over here. And I don't know, I don't really regret this, but I, like, ran up, and I was like, woof, 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 like, running through the skate park. And I just started hitting him, punching him, smacking him. yeah, and that was pretty bad. So, I don't know. It was horrible, but I kind of feel bad, but then I kind of don't because he was kind of a jerk and he was cheating on me, so, yeah. Anyways, and so, I was, like, standing there with my sister, and I'm like, how could you do this to me, you know, like, why would you do this to me, why wouldn't you just break up with me, blah, blah, blah. So, like, after all that went down, we kind of, like, civilized out, and we were talking, and he was just kind of telling me, like, you know, I'm sorry, I just don't want to be with you anymore, blah, 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 and then I looked at him, and, like, I started to cry a little bit, and I, like, looked down, and I looked back up at him, and he was like, what? And I was like, just so you know, I'm pregnant with your kid. And he was like, are you kidding me? And I was like, no, I'm not joking at all. And he was like, whatever. And so he, like, stormed off and didn't really say much after that and kind of just rolled his eyes and left. So that's how that went. And then he talked to me a couple other times throughout my pregnancy, but nothing really, you know, like a dad should. So that's how I told him. And that didn't turn out very well at all, obviously. And then how I told my parents, that was back in September. So I was about 2 months pregnant when I told Corey, the baby's father, McKaylee's father. And then my parents, my family, nobody knew except for my boyfriend now and his brother and our friend Carly. All of them, those three were the only ones that knew, right? Up until that happened in September, and then up until January, my parents found out in January. And how they found out, I'm going to try to make this as short as I can, but how they found out, she's a hairy baby. If you guys have not seen her, like, on Instagram or whatnot, she has a lot of hair. And so of course, it is so true, you get major heartburn and acid reflux when you have a hairy baby. That is so true. And so I had acid reflux, like, so bad. And I knew what it was. Like, the first time that it had happened was at my friend's house in December. So I was about roughly 5 months pregnant. And it happened at her house, like, in the middle of the night. It was, like, 6 o'clock in the morning when it happened. And literally, the first time it happened, I didn't know what was going on because I had never had it before. And I thought I was dying. Like, I'm not even joking. I thought something was so wrong I was going to die. So I was, like, freaking out, you know, like, nobody knows. Like, what am I going to do? And then, so her mom just told me, she's like, it's probably just acid reflux. So I was like, okay. And then I was, like, looking it up. I'm like, oh, yeah, obviously it's acid reflux. And, so I would get it, because I didn't get, like, the burning sensation of heartburn, acid reflux. You know, I got, like, the severe one. I don't know, you guys can look it up. But it feels like somebody's, like, crushing your chest and your ribs. And it hurts. It doesn't burn. It hurts really, really bad. And so I'm, like, freaking out, you know, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm dying. But no, I actually had acid reflux. And so after a couple months of having bad acid reflux every, like, week or so, it was, like, January 14th or 16th, I believe. And my mom was like, if it happens tonight, because my parents had work, so if it happens tonight, call your aunt and she'll take you to the hospital. I was like, okay. And so, like, it started happening and it started getting really bad, and I was the only one home and I couldn't deal with it. So I called my aunt and I was like, you need to get down here. Like, I need to go to the hospital. I knew it was acid reflux. They all thought I had a stomach ulcer, but I knew it was acid reflux because I knew, you know, I knew I was pregnant. But they didn't. So they took me down there, but I knew if I didn't go to the hospital, I was never going to have the chance at home, and it was going to be an awkward situation later on, you know, when I was big. So, my aunt took me to the hospital, and we were sitting in there. My mom showed up. She got off work, came and saw me. My mom has anxiety really, really bad, so she stayed out in the parking lot because hospitals, like, scare her to death, literally. So she stayed out in the parking lot, and my aunt stayed inside with me, and we're, like, sitting there. My aunt's, like, looking through a magazine and whatnot, and I look at her, and she, the month before, had just found out her daughter's pregnant, which her daughter was 23, but at the time, so it wasn't that big of a deal, 24. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it was a big shocker. So she had already heard the news, you know, so I looked at her and I was like, hey, Wiki, and she was like, looked at me like took a breath and was like, yeah, and I was like, I'm pregnant, and just, like, started crying, and she was like, okay, and she was like, if they don't notice here, you know, they don't test you here, we'll go home and get a at-home pregnancy test, and I was like, no, whoa, she's grouchy. And I was like, no, seriously, I'm like really, really pregnant. And she was like, okay, we'll see what they say. And I'm like, no, I'm like 6 months pregnant almost. And they come back in and they like do the monitor on my stomach, you know, like they come in and they're like, yeah, you're pregnant, you know, and they like did an ultrasound and monitored me a little bit. It was just an ER doctor, so it was nothing like how it should be. It was not intense. It was just like they just made sure she had a heartbeat pretty much. And baby's eyes, the slit to their eyes doesn't open until almost 6 months. And when they put it on her face, her eyes were already opened. And my aunt and the doctor were both like, oh my god, she is so far along. So, yeah, that's how they found out. And then my aunt went out and she showed the ultrasound to my mom. And my mom, of course, told my dad. And my dad told my grandpa and my grandma and everybody else, you know. And they pretty much took care of telling everybody else for me. I pretty much just told my aunt. And then everybody else told everybody else. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I told everybody and how the story got out. I do not recommend hiding it from anybody, especially your parents, because, you know, they love you and they're willing to help you, and or at least most are. I can't say that for everybody, but my parents were. They accepted it immediately. They said, don't worry, you know, like, she's a blessing from God and we'll get through this and it's gonna be okay, you know. So, like, it was never hatred or sadness or anything like that. It was just, we need to get ready for this baby, pretty much. So, other than that, like, it was totally just me all alone until I told them. So I definitely don't recommend hiding it, because I know I regret hiding it, and I wish I would have told my parents, at least my mom, way before that had to have happened. I was 26 weeks when I told my parents, 27 weeks when I told my parents, I believe, and 29 at my first appointment. So I was in my 3rd trimester, and I definitely don't recommend that, because it can be very unsafe, very unhealthy for you and the baby, and it could be very fatal and scary. So please, if you need any advice on telling parents or anything like that, telling anybody, please, like, message me and talk to me, because it's so much safer to tell them in the beginning than it is to wait forever. So, yeah, so you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm going to be making more videos, exciting videos, hopefully. Probably some right now, and then maybe some later this weekend or next week, but, yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, and comment, rate, subscribe, and message me if you have any questions, comment if you have any questions, doesn't matter to me. So follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I will see you guys later. Bye, guys.